Right, last night, your Guardians really came back from the dead. They were down 8-2, guys, in the 9th inning. I'm a diehard, but I'm not that much of a diehard. I thought for sure this one was over. Josh Naylor hits a game-tying home run in the 9th to get it into extra innings. The Guardians score in the top of the 10th. The Sox score in the bottom of the 10th. And then this happened in the top of the 11th. Roll it.
The set, the pitch. Swung on and blasted into deep right field. This ball gone! How about that? Naylor with 8 RBIs in his last 3 at-bats.
I'm talking about. And then the helmet throw is the best, in my view. The helmet throw is the best. I think that was him finally get rid of all the frustration of, remember last year, the terrible ankle break that he had? Mm-hmm. It looked like, some said his career was over. It was like the Joe Theismann type, where the bones are going all different ways and the ankle's pointing in the wrong direction. Guys, for me, that was easily the signature win of this Guardians team, which is now over 500, which is great, because there was a time about 2 weeks ago when they were just reeling off loss after loss. They looked dead in the water. What do we make of this club, guys? They were down 6 in the 9th and came back to win. That's one of the most exciting wins in Guardians/Indians history in the last couple of years. It's thrilling.
Remember what I said yesterday? I said we're going to find out how good they are and how interested we're going to be when we go against the White Sox. And my coach used to always say, have a day. Naylor had a day and a half. Man, this guy, 2 home runs, and if you went to sleep early, some people I know went to sleep a little early.
Tried to. Yeah.
You missed a heck of a game. And for Fringe fans like me, this is what gets me rolling. This is the kind of stuff I can lean on. This is the type of stuff that I can go and watch and take my wife to the game because of this type of offense. And Bull, I told you, pitching wins, but hitting is sure fun.
It's been amazing, guys. You think about this team and what we thought about them coming into the season, right? We thought they would, if they had any chance of competing, it would be all about the starting pitching.
Right.
But it's been anything but. I mean, the starting pitching has been disappointing. Zach Plesac has not pitched well and didn't pitch well yesterday. Aaron Savali's been awful. Even Shane Bieber's been kind of mediocre, which for him, you expect him to be great. McKenzie's been really good, but he's the only one that's been better than you would have expected. The lineup's been fantastic. They lead the American League in runs per game.
That's mind-blowing.
That's insane.
Right? And they're second in all of baseball behind only the $270 million roster of the LA Dodgers. And they're barely. I think the Dodgers are averaging 5 runs a game, and the Guardians are like 4.9, something like that. It is remarkable. They're doing it with young players. You know, often we talk about hitting coaches when they stink and they get fired.
Yeah.
But Chris Valaika, former big league journeyman, has in his first year as the Guardians hitting coach, and it appears he's made a difference. They're great plate discipline, a lot of contact at the plate. They're not striking out. It's made a difference.
I was up watching this, and it was Naylor was on fire for whatever reason. I want to thank the White Sox fans because you could tell they were talking smack to him.
Yeah, they
because
were.
he yelled
The
right
few
at
that
them.
were there.
Yeah, exactly. All 7 of them. But he was yelling at them when he rounded the bases. He gave them the be quiet on the grand slam. And then on the 3-run, he did the same thing and blew up both times in that dugout, which was fun to watch. And I don't know if we can count on grand slams like that and stuff carrying us through the rest of the season and Naylor staying furious that long. Is that smart?
I don't think we can't rely on that kind of stuff every night. But guys, let's just put into a vacuum what he did last night. The thumbnail of it. He hit a game-tying grand slam home run. That's the biggest thing you can do as a hitter. He hit a game-tying grand slam home run in the final inning of regulation to get it to extra innings. From the 8th inning on, he had 8 RBI. Never been done.
Right.
Never.
Also never been done, a guy hitting a grand slam home run and a 3-run home run in the 8th inning or later. Guys, we've played hundreds of thousands of baseball games, more than 1 million baseball games in all likelihood. And this guy last night does something that has never been done. Now, the number there is 1920 because, honestly, Elias's records after that, they've disintegrated and turned to dust.
Right.
They can't read the box score from the New York Times going back to 1919. But it's incredible. And we expect that the driving force of this team will be Jose Ramirez, and he will be. But when you look at the lineup, the kids, guys like Miller and Naylor's 25 years old, and Kwan, this team is exciting to watch. And to your point, G, there are a lot of fringe fans. Let's face it. I think the Guardians/Indians franchise is kind of in a tough spot right now because a lot of fans are so upset with the name change. They're like, I'm done. They won't be done if they put a 15-game winning streak together in August and they're in first place. They'll come flooding back into Progressive Field.
Especially when they want to keep scoring runs like this.
Yeah.
Pitching is a science, it's an art. It's something that, you have to really dial in, especially when you're knowing, hey, is that a slider? Is that a curveball, fastball, changeup? How many pitches a guy has, the velocity, all that good stuff. But one thing that translates very well is I know what a 3-run home run is. I know what a grand slam is.
Yeah.
And I know I can get excited about grand slams and 3-run home runs. We'll see if we can continue up that type of production. But at least for now, going against a White Sox team that everyone talked about being the team that's going to be in the AL Central heads and shoulder above the rest.
And let's face it, so in recent years, the young Guardians hitters have all been disappointments. And to this point, coming into this season, Josh Naylor has mostly been a disappointment. He was a high draft pick. He was part of the big trade a few years ago with the Padres. And he's been disappointing, except for the playoffs. Remember the last time the Guardians, at the time, Indians were in the playoffs?
I don't know that all of them. I love Franmil Reyes. I know he's gripping now.
But I meant more the guys that came up through the organization. But
sure.
Naylor kind of did not really either.
No,
but a
wasn't
lot of their
drafted by
young
the
guys have been
Guardians.
disappointing. Even Owen Miller last year's first opportunity didn't do much. But now they're really starting, it seems, and again, it's too early to know for sure, but it seems like they're developing as a group together. And this is a big year for Naylor because he's had, 700 plate appearances already.
Sure.
And his numbers are very unimpressive overall, but he's off to a good start. Obviously, yesterday, blew those numbers up. But between the injury that you mentioned earlier and his struggles in the past, it's a big season for him. And you saw the emotion there. I hope he didn't break anybody's wrist doing the high fives.
Yeah.
But you feed off that kind of energy.
It is exciting and it's contagious. And, we mentioned it right now, it's all about the hitting. Guys, and we know the pitching's going to come around. It typically does. I think you made a comment about Plesac, and he hasn't pitched well overall.
Yeah.
Last night, I thought he had his best stuff of the year, and he made 2 bad pitches the whole night. In the first inning, after the Guardians score first, he kind of messes around and loads the bases. It was nothing that, he wasn't terrible in that inning. Then he throws the wild pitch. Mm-hmm. That makes it a 1-1 tie. And then he grooves a little slide piece it looked like it was set up on a tee. And now it's a 3-run homer. After that, he settled in and he barely gave up a hit the rest of the way. I think it's a focus thing with this guy.
I think you're right. But since that suspension, not suspension, we got sent to the minors.
COVID deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since that, he's been very inconsistent, and it showed again, even last night within the game. He looked out of sorts in the first inning.
In that first inning, he did.
Right, and then you're right. He did pitch well after that. But you need more consistency from him, and that just hasn't been there for going on a year.
To your point on the hitting coach, too, I know a lot of people that are just average baseball fans look at it and say, no, that's just a guy that fills the uniform.
Right.
Here's the impact that we've seen on this team already. And this is the hitting philosophy varies from coach to coach. But the one thing that I think has become this team's trademark is they are very patient at the plate.
Yeah.
Quan doesn't swing at balls. And for a young guy who's trying to make his way, now pitchers after the first 2 weeks are starting to throw fringe pitches at him to see what they can get him to chase and what he'll spit on. But he shows amazing plate discipline, and I think that is a product of the organization and their philosophy. Get the pitch count up. Don't give up when you're 0-2. We've seen Quan go 0-2 a bunch of times this year, and the next thing you know, it's a full count, and he's falling off pitch after pitch. Even if he makes an out in that at-bat, that's a quality at-bat because you drew 8 pitches out of the pitcher.
Right.
And if he's got 100 to budget, that's almost 10% of his entire effort on one at-bat.
Yeah.
Even if the guy makes an out, you'll take that every time. So I think the hitters are all more disciplined. They're patient. And it's amazing how this is why Tito's the best in the game. You can give him whatever your mold, whatever your ball of clay is, you can give it to him. And he is going to shake. Yeah. That's stunning, guys. Look at the payroll. They've got the second lowest payroll, I think, in baseball.
Yes.
Here's what's
and here they
horrifying,
are.
though. Here's what would be interesting. Do you think in 2 months we'll look at that graphic and we'll laugh, or do you think that we'll just be like, can we believe
We'll
we're still
laugh.
doing it?
It'll be.
We'll laugh.
This is a long.
Yeah, and that's a
season.
small
Well,
sample size, but it's still impressive that they're
It's
there.
great.
They could
It's
easily
shocking.
be 14th in
That's
the American
true.
League right
And
now.
what's interesting, though, and the reason I have some hope, and obviously it'll come down a little bit. They're not going to end the season very likely as the number one team in the
They
American
won't.
League in runs scored.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the guys that are, you want to say, overperforming are young players. And maybe this is the
Yeah.
level they're capable of. We'll see as time goes by.
Well, Rosario hasn't started to hit yet.
Nope.
They mentioned last night in the game telecast that he did the same thing last year. He was below 200 when he finally caught fire.
Yeah.
And then we know what happened the rest of the season for Rosario. Here's their Achilles heel, and we've seen it. It's
Yeah.
defense. You've got
Oh,
Naylor. So
awful.
Naylor's the guy you want in the lineup. So, his body isn't really
Ideal.
it's
Yeah.
not ideal.
Very Puckett-esque.
Right, so it is. And so you see a guy like that, you're like, okay, where do you hide him? Well, hide him at first base. The game we went to last Wednesday,
Yeah.
he drops a ball right in his
Easy
glove.
play, routine
that guy
play.
comes around to score. Last night, the first run that scored in the game was on a ball that Naylor dropped on an easy out at first base. You can't have that happen.
Think about if this team had like an Anthony Rizzo playing first base.
Well, yeah, I
Like
mean,
that, they signed him. He didn't sign for a ton of money.
No,
this
but
offseason.
it's more than the
But
Guardians were going to spend.
not necessarily him specifically, but
Right.
that type of player, like a middle of the lineup hitter.
Yeah.
Great defensive player, can hit for power.
Be ideal.
One other thing, though, Jay, I want to go back to something you said about the hitting coach and the Guardians' ability to put the ball in play. We talked during our practice runs last week about how Franmil Reyes was in a terrible slump, right?
It was, yeah.
Okay, he's gotten hot. It's interesting. I don't know who's paid attention to this in terms of the fans. To get out of his slump, his first 8 hits out of the slump were all singles. So even your one pure slugger on this team
Right.
started trying to go opposite field, cut down a swing
that's
a little
the key
bit.
right there.
Right?
Going with the pitch.
Getting base
Take
hits.
it the other way.
And then you come out of your funk, and now you go start hitting for power again, which
Yeah.
you'll do. But he saw what the other guys were doing, the advice they were getting, and the way they were hitting, and he used that even in his game, which is different than most of the other players.
Right.
And Bull, you said one thing. When I used to be in high school and I'm playing, this is eons ago. Well, one thing that my dad and a lot of my coaches said, hey, look, man, all it takes is a little infield hit you
Right.
beat out.
Get you
Maybe
out of
you get a bloop single. Maybe you hit one and it dribbles down the third base line, you beat it out. Those things give you that confidence to now where you're like, okay, I'm seeing the picture, I'm seeing pitches.
Right.
And it encourages you to be a little more patient at the plate, especially when you're not seeing the pitches that you really want to drive and hit. So it's kind of hard. I'm just glad that he's actually doing that now.
Not everything has to be a home run. Sometimes
Right,
being
sure.
a home run hitter is a curse because he's going up to the plate with that all or nothing mentality. And I think what we've seen, and it's a great point by you, I think what we've seen is the team philosophically is like, look, a single can snap a slump. Like you said, it could be an infield. It doesn't matter.
They've bought in together.
They
it
have,
seems.
and you can watch. Each player
Yeah.
now has a mindset when he comes to home plate, where a lot of teams, you got 9 different individual game plans. Everybody's going up there looking for their pitcher with their own idea. I think what we're seeing with the Guardians is there is a clear-cut style. There is a philosophy that they're all carrying to the plate, and go the other way. It's hard sometimes to get any hitter to try to do anything but pull the ball, particularly guys that are strong, quick wrists, and they get around on it. They think they have to pull everything. Well, if the pitchers are throwing everything on the outer half, just sit back and punch it the other way. And once that comes, then the ball gets bigger and bigger, and before long it looks like a beach ball. Wait till the pitching comes around. And it will.
It will.
And Tito's teams historically start slow. Usually at June 1st, they're hovering around 500. Well, if they can get even a couple games above 500 by June 1st, that's when Tito figures out what he has and what he's going to do for the last 3 months of the season. So I'm very confident that this team's going to compete for a playoff spot for one of the wild cards. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I do think they can play meaningful
They'll
baseball
be in the
in
mix.
September. Yeah, and that's all we want.
One guy we haven't really mentioned, and I'll be honest, when they first got him, Miles Straw, I was like, he's more of a fourth outfielder. I didn't really think of him as a starter on a good team.
Yeah.
He's really impressed me since he's been
got
here.
speed.
He's got speed. He, unlike a lot of the guys on this team, is very good in the field. He's an energetic leader as well, and he's another guy that gets on base. And it's a great sign, guys, for the Guardians that we've talked about them for, 10, 15 minutes here?
Yeah.
We haven't even really mentioned Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
No,
right?
That's
Should've
the
called
point.
that.
Yeah.
That's how, he's definitely going to be the epicenter of this wheel.
No doubt.
And the other thing I hate is Rosario in left field. It's just such a bad look.
Yeah,
it's so bad. Like, he's a shortstop.
Yeah.
And Tito's he's got to make some tough decisions. If you've got some of these young kids that are hitting, you don't want to take them out of the lineup.
Right.
And a guy like Rosario, if you had to put one of them in left field, I think he's the guy that you would want to do that with. But ideally, he's not. We've got too many guys out of position on the defensive side, and that's going to be the big Achilles heel for this team moving forward.
They may trade a middle infielder for an outfielder or corner infielder at some point. Yeah,
we think there's going to be trades.
Yeah.
In July. I hope we're a buyer and not a seller.
Yeah,
that's
usually how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike, I'm an eternal optimist.
I know.
That's family dollar budget.
You know what I love though, and this is I think the best thing about the Jose Ramirez trade, new contract. We never have to hold our breath on July 31st as to whether or not they're going to dump this guy.
Yes.
The no trade thing, I love it. And also, it tells us that LeBron's not the only athlete to raise his hand, superstar athlete to raise his hand and say, "Hey, I want to play in Cleveland."
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice thing to see. Quickly before we leave baseball, because we got to get to this Nick Chubb video. It's ridiculous. Quickly around the horn deal on the ghost runner rule. It was supposed to go away. That's in extra innings. Each team starts with the man on second base. It was an experiment to speed up games. It worked, but the general consensus is they were going to ditch it. They had voted to ditch it, but then because they had the shortened spring training, they said, we got to do everything we can to limit the innings on these guys because there's no spring training. So it's back for at least for this year. It's probably going to go away at the end of this year. Do you like that with the guy starting on second base to start the 10th inning?
Love it. Wow. Major League Baseball, if you could do little small things like this to introduce the game and to make it interesting for fringe fans, do it. I think it's a good look. They should do more things like that and be non-traditional.
You like it, Mike?
Totally agree. Love it. Forgot about it. It was so late last night, and I had to rewind. I'm like, how did he get on second? Because I forgot
because the big news was it was going away this year.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when they decided that they were going to bring it back, it made no splash at all in the news.
I totally agree, and I also like that it makes the old head baseball fans upset because, exactly. I love it. Who are just like, no, they should.
You like it though.
Well, I'm a grandfather.
The ball should still be made out of horsehair.
I used to consider myself an old school baseball fan. I've been a baseball fan since the late 70s. And yet, I like a lot of the changes that my first reaction was that, I don't like it, right?
Yeah.
When I first heard about this idea, I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I love it. I hope it never goes away.
Yeah,
it creates more excitement.
Mike, I am more open to the idea because I am that guy.
Yes.
I am the old seam head. I love tradition. I hated the wild card when it first came in. I love it now.
The people who are complaining about it are the same people who complain when they put that home run bar out in the center field at the Guardians
No, I've always
games.
loved that.
But but remember, there was a lot of pushback against that because it was ruining the sanctity of the game and everything. And all the dudes who are still keeping score in the bleachers are just like, you shut up over there. We're trying to have fun and quiet.
Have you ever been that guy? Have you ever kept score at a Major League Baseball game?
I would have no idea.
Have you worn a glove to a game?
Yeah, when I was a kid, but not anymore. Now I'm just like, what am I going to do with a foul ball from somebody I've never heard of?
I have a hard, fast rule. If you're over 18 years of age, you're not allowed to wear another grown man's jersey to a game.
Why not?
And ditch the baseball glove. Like, be a
baseball
man.
glove's
You can
lame,
catch a ball with your bare hands.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Just too much to
But
handle.
don't you feel funny wearing a jersey with a grown man's name on the back?
Listen, I pay taxes. I pay a lot of money in taxes.
You can do whatever you want.
But I'm a grown man. I can't have another grown man while my son is looking at me.
Right.
He's looking at me.
Yeah.
and my
You're
face.
advertising for another guy.
And he's like, Daddy, what's going on? You cheering
have
all
a
hard? No, I ain't got one yet. But listen, he will look at you like that if I have Myles Garrett's jersey on. He's my
So you won't wear a jersey?
No.
Yeah, I wear them as fashion statements, but I don't wear them to games.
No.
I don't
Plus,
either.
I don't want anybody to confuse me for Myles Garrett. A lot of
You
times
guys
when
look
I wear
similar.
my Myles
Sure.
Garrett
Yeah.
jersey, people are like, Myles.
Yeah.
And then I have to say, no. Yeah, I can understand.
that.
Can understand how you would do that. but
Throwbacks
no.
count. Throwbacks don't count. You could do a Jim Brown.
That's fashion, though.
You could
that's
do a
fashion.
Jim Brown. You could do a Bernie.
I'm good with that.
Throwback.
Yeah.
Okay.